So if you're like me and you own this Betafpv Literadio 3 Nano, you've probably been pretty happy with the software, but because it's honestly the software and the design is pretty well built that way, but the switches and the gimbals are just mushy as hell. So I'm going to show you real quick here how you can replace these garbage rocker switches that come stock with the model with just some basic switches that you can find on AliExpress or Banggood or any kind of online retailer. So let me walk you through it.
Alright, so in order to start this process, you're going to want to remove the front panel here. So you just take off this black wiring harness and the battery leads that are connected to the front panel there, and that'll get you going. Next up, we're going to want to remove this switch by initially removing this 3-pin JST connector you've got in the back here. So you can see I actually struggle a little bit here with the removal of the connector and resort to using my pliers. You can probably, if you got small fingers, you can probably get in there, but I'm a little fat fingered sometimes. Next up, you're going to want to remove these two screws here that are holding the crappy rocker switches in place. Yeah, you can just use a jeweler's screwdriver or something like that. It'll work just fine. So take those off, and you'll see underneath it there's like a little plastic plate on top of the switch that we're also going to remove. And just pop it out there. Just use my tweezers. We're going to hold on to the wire and the rocker switch for now, but we'll come back to that later. Next up, we're going to start working on removing the plastic casing around where we're going to install the switch. Now I'm initially going to start by just cutting back some of the plastic there. You can see kind of the circular profile that the switch was resting in there. So I'm going to cut a bit of the plastic away from those two stands where the screws are. We're going to hold on to the stands because they help hold the new switches in place, as you can kind of see in the top one there. But just be careful, don't cut yourself, go slow, don't force it too much. I'd also recommend using your gimbal protectors if you've got them. This process, you put a little bit of force down on your gimbals, and that's not great. I didn't because I just didn't. I really should have. So we're just going to work away with some of these cutters and the tweezers and a file and remove all that leftover plastic bits that we kind of cut away, and get it to be a nice and flush surface using the file, the tweezers, anything that kind of you can use to work away with. So now that I've done that, you can see a nice flat surface. Alright, so now that you've got the switch removed, we're going to solder up this little switch into the plastic rocker replacement. We're going to use that wire that we pulled off of the initial rockers. It's just nice and easy. They're already tinned and cut to length, so might as well. We're going to take the time to tin up the switch here, which just makes your life a little bit easier and stops you from potentially melting the plastic housing as well. Alright, now that you're tinned up, you can take the 3-pin JST, and I like to just use a pair of tweezers to hold the connectors in place. But you're going to want to start with the red wire there at the bottom. You want the bottom towards the red wire towards the kind of wide side of the switch there. Black wire goes in the middle. Make sure you do that correctly, and the yellow wire goes right at the edge, the top switch there. There you go. Now that you've got your switch all soldered up and ready to go, take the time to make sure it's well seated in your controller the way I'm doing here. Just make sure the lines are all flush and ready to go. And it's not going anywhere. So now that you've got it seated in place, you can take the time to reconnect the harness and the battery connector. And I actually almost forgot here to install the wire I soldered in place, but just make sure you've got it nice and oriented in the right way and pop her in. Actually end up struggling a bit here as well. Once you've got it all installed in place, give them all a bit of a tug test and just to make sure they're well and seated in place, and close the back up. Now, something I don't do here, but you can do before you install the screws, is just take the time, turn your machine on, and make sure that the switches work fine. I didn't do that here, but luckily they all ended up working just fine for me. Alright, now, moment of truth. We power this guy up. Edge DX, there you go. Oh, throttle warning. And you can see my channels there. Switches are working. Switches work. Overall, really happy with how this all turned out. Took a bit of fiddling to get the profiles to all line up. Ended up taking some pictures and just kind of scanning them into on shape to get it to work, but we got there eventually. So thanks for coming along, and I hope this gets some extra life out of your Beta FPV Light Radio 3. Cheers.